ABC News foreign correspondent Tom Soufi Burridge joins me live now from Kyiv, Ukraine, with more on this. Tom, Ukrainian forces are regaining control in areas that Russian troops once occupied. And now the head of the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency says Ukraine has killed up to 10 Russian generals. He also warns that Putin may turn to a nuclear threat. What are you hearing there in Ukraine, and how are they preparing for that possibility?
Well, look, countries like Lithuania have already sort of warned of this possibility. I think most significantly today, a senior Russian politician in a pro-Kremlin newspaper has been quoted as saying that, yes, Russia should keep the nuclear option on the table, but that politician saying that it should only be taken, the decision to launch a nuclear strike, in response to a US nuclear strike. And I think, in reality, officials here in Kiev are not spending too much time thinking about that possibility. They're more focused on the conflict, on the fighting which rages, particularly in the Donbass, in the east of Ukraine, and those significant gains we're hearing from Ian just then, up around Kharkiv, the second major city, where Ukraine says it's taken several villages.
Now, President Zelensky posted a tweet overnight thanking House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and other lawmakers for approving a $40 billion aid package for Ukraine. If this passes, what would it do for Ukraine in its fight against Russia?
It's a game changer, really. $40 billion would really up the ante. I mean, the US has already provided $13 billion to the Ukrainians. So 40 on top of that. We've already seen the impact of the anti-tank Javelin missiles, the surface-to-air Stinger missiles, and now the artillery, which Ukrainian and US officials say are now currently being used in that fight. And artillery is crucial in the Donbass, where the war is focused, because if the Ukrainians now have much better equipment and they're trained on it, it will increase the range of their artillery and the accuracy, the radar systems they use. And that really could change the balance in this war.
Now, Tom, 2 senators unveiled a resolution calling on the Biden administration to designate Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism. Now, that would result in more sanctions. What kind of an impact could that have on Putin?
Well, look, senior US politicians, Diane, have, like Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, have already called for this. Countries like Lithuania have already made that characterization of Russia. It would up the ante, it would up the rhetoric, and I think the Ukrainians, of course, would welcome it.
And, Tom, yesterday, Bridget Brink, President Biden's nominee for U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, testified before the Senate in a confirmation hearing. The U.S. has not had an official ambassador there since 2019. Any takeaways from that hearing?
Well, look, I think Bridget Brink is an experienced U.S. diplomat. She's currently serving in Slovakia, so she knows the broad region well. It would give more stability to the U.S. operation here. The embassy hasn't officially opened here in Kiev since it closed earlier in the war, but it would give more stability. The U.S. operation, of course, massive. And if you think about the increase in military aid and humanitarian assistance for Ukraine, that $40 billion package, once, if we assume it does, pass the Senate, then there'll just be a huge amount more work in terms of the amount of aid and support coming from the U.S. to Ukraine, and therefore it will be important.
So how do you think this appointment could help Ukraine's political landscape?
Well, look, the Ukrainians have a pretty stable government at the moment. I don't think... I think, relationships are so close between the United States and Ukraine at the moment. In the early stages of the war, of course, we saw the Ukrainians calling for much more help. Talking to Ukrainian officials now, I think there is a much more favourable opinion towards Western assistance, and they're very grateful for it.
All right, Tom in Kyiv, Ukraine, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.